So guys, welcome to the Full Circle, where we're journeying into the past to really understand who we are, so that we can really grow into who we're meant to be. So welcome today in joining us in really trying to discover our full circle moments. Today's a little different. We've got a special guest today. We've got Councillor Terry.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure
Thank
to be
you.
here.
And I feel like you coming here today is gonna really kind of shape a lot of our discussions today. So yeah, we're pleased to have you here today.
Thank you.
I've got myself, Kelvin, here. We've got Luca here today. And we've also got Reuben here. So
How are you guys in school?
I'll have you. I was okay at school. I went to a Catholic school in East London. It was quite competitive, quite academic, but also very sporty. There's some quite good footballers from my school. I love school, and it made me who I am today. And I'm still in touch with my school even now to try and pay back in some small ways, because without the school I wouldn't be where I am today. So, and I'm a big believer in education. That's where I am, and you know, I'm blessed with school.
yeah, I'd say for me, I went to a Catholic school as well, but it was a little different. Went to a boys' school.
Same here.
And like you say, like quite sporty, quite academic. But I feel like for me, I didn't particularly enjoy school that much at that age in particular. And I would say mainly that's just due to like external pressure from parents, just really trying to ground me into becoming something. And I would say secondary school, I'd say probably like the best carefree period of my life, I'd say. Just because I just found it to be fun. But where I found it difficult is just academically. I feel like that's where I kind of struggled in that aspect. But where it came to just being a little bit more creative and really trying to find myself in that aspect, I eventually like kind of just enjoyed kind of secondary school for a bit. So I'm mixed. I wouldn't say like I loved it, and I wouldn't say I hated it, but I kind of wish I kind of done things differently. Yeah.
I like school a lot, really. I mean, it was a weird school, weird ass place, that place, but I liked it because it was weird. It's where I found my passion through school. It's where I made some friends that I still go on holidays with now. All my holidays have been with people that were from my secondary school, and I think that says a lot, because since then people have sort of come and gone, but schools where I met some good friends, because, you know, when you're year 7 to year 11, you know, that's when you're really growing and developing, and people see you in a different light that you might not be seeing as much in college or university, and after that. But like, that's where lifelong friends are really made for me. Academically wise, it was like, yeah, I wasn't the best, but I was hardworking, and I think what I remember about secondary school is just the laughs I had, and you know, I would wake up feeling crap some mornings, really bad. I go into school, within an hour I'm laughing and I'm joking around, and I feel good, and to me that's when I think of school, I think of that, which I think is a positive thing.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with that. I think the social aspect of school was one of the better aspects for me. My school life was a bit different. It was a bit weird. It's like you know in football when they say it's a game of two halves, if it was definitely like that. So for those that don't know, I'm disabled, right? So I had a lot of difficulty with school at the beginning, probably from year 7 to year 9, kind of just adjusting to the school environment. But then from year 9, when I kind of came in to my own character, that was definitely the better part of school, socially, academically as well. I wasn't a top achiever, but I was better than average. So I was kind of in the middle of average and top achiever. Yeah, so academically it was cool. It was just if I could be bothered, because I wasn't learning a whole lot about anything I was very interested in. Yeah, but I definitely enjoyed the second half of school, from probably end of year 9 to not graduation, but you know, when you finish your GCSEs, that was definitely better than the beginning part. Yeah, but I think it was, the biggest problem for me was just maybe adjusting to the school environment. Because secondary school is quite different to primary school. At least I feel anyway, so.
Was you, both of you guys, was your school like mixed or like, was it Catholic as well, or was it like public?
Public, mixed.
I went, I don't know if it was a Catholic school, South London, but it was mixed as well.
Yeah.
So.
Was it in like a particularly dangerous area at the time, your schools?
Yeah, the area itself wasn't very dangerous, but within maybe 2 to 3 miles, there was bare schools. Like, so it was dangerous because of the concentration of schools. Do you get it? And people were from different areas. So a lot of the time, you know, post-Cold Wars, that was a big aspect of school, especially towards the end of school, probably year 9, year 10, year 11. Yeah, it was dangerous, man, I can't even lie. It was navigating school, going home, it was long. It was long, but yeah.
Was your school in like a safe area, or was it?
I'm from East London, right? What areas are safe? What areas are, you know? I would say I'm from Canning Town in East London, right, which has got its own reputation, its own thing.
Slums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, life was what it is. Life wasn't dangerous, life wasn't easy, life was just life.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I realise now. So I would say no, you know, an area is only as dangerous as you make it, if you see it as dangerous. If it's part of your everyday existence, it's just life, right? And you grow up and you navigate whatever it is. You know, we can go out there today, in a heartbeat, something can go wrong, we can come to harm. So I would say I grew up in East London back in the day, before, you know, it's as dangerous as it was, but it just cracked on, just got on with it. I didn't see danger, just cracked on with life. And I think that's how I've led my life ever since.
Yeah. I've sort of gone from primary school, relatively like safe, carefree environment, to secondary school without understanding what happened to the area. So I went to school in Nunhead, which was sort of in between sort of Lewisham, sort of in between sort of Peckham, Camberwell, Old Kent Road, and...
Wait, what school, sorry?
I went to St Thomas the Apostle College.
Yeah. Okay.
And so what happened is I started secondary school by understanding that, there's actually a lot of like postcode wars at the time. And so I'm not just going to school anymore. It's like I got to go to school and kind of watch out what's happening around me, because it's weird now, because I'm just trying to go to school, but
it's not just
there's stuff going on around me, and it's like, if you get caught up in that, it's just like, what happens kind of thing. Yeah.
Can you explain this to me, this postcode thing? Because when I was at school, you know, how do you know what postcode you're from? I don't.
Well, it's just essentially like, for example, one of the main things, especially when we was in school, was like Brixton and Peckham. Like, they didn't get on. And, you know, whether it's just literally just like repping estates. We're all from the same estate. We all like move as a pack, and we don't like these man, or we don't like them, or they don't like us. Literally, it's like that, but it's kind of founded in where you're from and how many guys are around you in that certain environment. I say estates because typically it was like estates when you go to like Somerleyton and Loughborough and Mansfield, all of these kind of different areas, postcodes essentially. And yeah, that was just literally it. But because everyone's going to school and it's like you're from this place, I'm from this place, we don't get on with you lot. That's just literally what it was.
That's interesting because you said it's based on estates, right?
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part, where in East London there's not a lot of estates as in other parts, right?
Right.
So I think we weren't, when growing up, we weren't predisposed to say this estate, whatever, Southman, Canning Town, Plaster, Upton Park, whatever.
Right.
And only if you're local, do you know if you cross the road, it's Plaster. It's interesting what you just said because we didn't have that estate environment.
Right.
So it wasn't easy when I was growing up to say, oh, you're from this estate or whatever. It was just a much wider thing, Plasto, whatever, which is a much bigger thing, right?
Yeah.
And obviously being a Catholic school, I had to travel. I didn't go to my local school. I had to travel. And even with the guys I travelled with, we weren't impacted by what you would call postcode. They knew we were from Canning Town. If you want to take us on, fine, we'll win, right? Leave us alone, right? So it's really interesting what you said, how you described your school environment and that postcode, because I've read about it, but I didn't experience it. So it's useful for you guys to explain it to me.
I think from my experience growing up, a lot of it's influenced by music. And at the time, the popular genre was grime, and so there was a lot of pride in what area you're from. And a lot of that came from how good, the MCs were in your area. So if you had particularly good MCs in your area, there was a lot of like pride and rep in where you're from. And it wasn't just the bravado in the lyrics, but it was also the bravado in, how bad we are as a group together, and so again, I'm seeing this and I'm thinking, I'm just going to school, but around me it's just like all of this is happening, and so I'm just like, I'm not sure what's going on here. But I think as I've grown up, I start to understand a bit more that it's actually deeper than this, but it's deeper than this in the sense that this happened way before my time, and a lot of it's just inherited, and just kept.
But you guys are grown up with social media, right?
Yeah.
So you say, when you mentioned grime, I remember, two-step garage and all that sort of thing, right? And then the music changed, it got darker. It went grime, right? Negative lyrics. And I remember that, you think, this music's different, and people look different and acted differently, right? But I would say the difference between my growing up and your growing up, I didn't have social media. If I had issues at school, I didn't have a phone. There was no such thing as mobile phones. I didn't turn on something and wow, I'm still in the fight or in the zone, right? Talk about grime music and that, didn't have that social media. So you can literally switch off. Easy for me, going from school, I had to travel. Once I got home, that was it. I was in a different environment. The people around, there's only a few people around me who went to my school. The majority of them went to other schools. So, but it's interesting. We didn't have that social media. What do you think about that?
I don't think we social media so much.
I think me, Reuben, we're more millennials, so we are just on the cusp of analog to digital. So like where all the things.
I'm pre-analog. We had no mobile phone, no internet, no computers.
So it's basically pre-analog. Started out
historic.
Right in the thick of it.
Stone Age.
But I think.
But it was still YouTube though.
Nah, but that wasn't social media. That was more like.
I think as social media went as far as like BBM. And if you would
or MSN.
Or
MSN. You would see what people are doing through their statuses, from what I remember.
But it's still like when you see how maybe it's because we know what social media is now. We kind of look back and we can just reduce it for what it is completely, because it wasn't that. Like you were saying, there was times where we went home And then that was it. Like, literally, the mission was go to school. Nothing really happened on the way to school. After school was when it popped off, because, you know, people would come from their estates who don't go to the school and they'd be chilling outside the gates, waiting to rob people. They're coming to link girls or whatever it may be. And the mission was get home. Not get home safely. You tried to getting home safe was a bonus.
Really?
But get home. Because there's guys on bikes, they're boulders, and they got their like flags and all of this stuff. And it was hectic, but you just had to navigate the situation. But once you got home, we were also able to switch off as well.
Was that the same for Luca's? The same for you? It was the mission of getting home.
Yeah, Luca's a bit different because we're millennials, isn't it? But I don't know where to class you as like Gen Z or like.
Yeah, I'd say Gen Z. Yeah.
How old are you, Luca?
19. Okay. So yeah, like yeah. I think I got my first iPhone 4 in like year 6, and it was like big WhatsApp chats. That was when it started. And I remember as soon as secondary school started, it was Instagram. Like, I was very active on Instagram throughout all of my education, except primary school. So again, I didn't really have that. Like, I'd go home, and then I'm scrolling. And in a way, I think that if I could go back in time, I wouldn't have wasted that much time scrolling in those years. I mean, I was outside as well. I played a lot of football and stuff. But if I wasn't outside and I'm inside on my ones, I'm not reading a book. I'm scrolling, because it's that easy just to look up posts. And there was foolishness, man. I remember there was foolishness, like rate my picture 1 to 10, post this. I'd be up all night doing this, and then I'd wake up, be tired. I wasn't concentrating. Sleep. And unfortunately, it's just that's gonna keep happening. And we're well in the thick of it now with this social media wave. It's not gonna stop unless.
Can't you just turn it off?
I've learned to turn it off. People just can't.
Yes, you can.
I can, but for a lot of people.
I've got a question for you. You said in the beginning that you just used to crack on, right? Do you think you were more able to crack on in your day, and the environment allowed you to crack on more so than for?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You could make mistakes, you can mess up, and no one will say to you last week, oh, this is what you did. Right? So I was allowed to develop, make mistakes as a younger person. You know, you get things wrong. I'm 55, just turned 55, right? I still make mistakes to this day, right? But those mistakes, you know, when I was younger, probably more, as you young men, you're finding yourself in the world, and we all make mistakes, we all say things, whatever. But, you know, I just think I was quite blessed not to have the social media of you guys. Just listen to Luca, what he just said there, right? You know, it's bad enough now. I look at Instagram. I got an Instagram account. I hardly use it, right? Because I don't feel I have to. I don't have to put my life on there. I don't have to tell everyone what I do. Put my gardening pictures on there. I'm a bit of a gardener, right? So I celebrate my garden and all that. But I didn't have that social media, and for me, I was allowed to be myself, to develop myself, without the glare of you guys looking in on me. I would commit my own mistakes, if that's fair. And I found out listening to you three, what I've taken from you three is that growing up in the glare of social media, having your mistakes, and you're out there, and you can't take it back once it's out there on social media.
Out there.
Yeah,
You can't take it back. It's rooted in your head once you realise it's out.
Yeah, but you started too early though, because Instagram at year 7. That's
too much.
That's too early.
too much.
You didn't have no regulation, like your dad didn't.
Nah, he did. He'd take my phone away at night, like at times. But even going through to like year 9, it was Snapchat. Everyday Snapchat.
So what were you posting?
I'm posting mirror selfies. I'm posting. Got the filters. I slapped the emoji there.
You're like 12 years old.
12.
Mirror selfie.
Just turned 11 to 12, like crazy. And it probably has, in some way, altered my brain chemistry in a negative.
What were the biggest impacts to your education?
I think for me, my biggest impact was just external pressure in the house. I've sort of grown up in a Ghanaian background where first gen, oldest sibling, firstborn, so you have this sort of birthright where, you know, you were lauded as the firstborn, the first to do everything, and so therefore everything that you do is important, so that my parents always say to me, like, everything that you do, your siblings will follow. So if you do good, your siblings will do good. And if you do bad, then your siblings will do bad. And at the time, I used to think, like, you know, this birthright was like a good thing, because come birthdays, you get extra money, or you get first dibs on the chicken when it comes to like having dinner and stuff like that. But what I realised it come with is just external pressure that I never put on myself. And so going into school, there's a lot of fear of failure. There's a lot of fear of like trying new things. There's a lot of fear of like, you know, being open to try things, because you make some mistakes, all of a sudden it's, you know, you've done this bad, what do you think your siblings are going to do now? Or what do you think Uncle so-and-so is going to say? You know, or what do you think this person's going to say? So it's a lot of external pressure.
I wish I had a bit more of that.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think you want that.
No,
I don't think you want that.
I want it not up to the full force, but I think I would want it a little bit. I grew up with my grandparents, right? Not at my, and my grandmother could barely read or write, right? But she's very good at maths, and she put on a bet, right? So she could, right? And my grandfather just worked hard at Ford's, right? In Dagenham. So their love was home, food, warmth, you're doing okay. They didn't know the next level, right? It sounds like your parents knew the next level. All right, it might be a little bit intense, but at least you had somebody shaping, right? And I think that is I think that for me, listening, that's a very valuable thing, which I wish I had a little bit more on. I mean, if you look at, sometimes you can want too much, too little, but somebody, a significant person in your life, shaping you sort of academically, schoolwork is very important. My grandparents and my mum shaped me to be a good person, right? But didn't say, oh, you know, do this, and have you considered that? That wasn't their thing, but your family did. So I don't know, I can see what you're saying, it was pressurised, but hopefully in years to come you realise that it might, you know, that it adds something there. Because I wish I had some of that. Not as much as the Ghanaian experience, right? Yeah, maybe it's a bit too full on, right? You know.
I mean, you think you want that, but you don't want it until you kind of step into the shoes. Because where my parents are first gen, there's a lot of, you know, growing up in Britain or London per se, that they just don't understand.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
You're throwing me into school, you're throwing me into becoming something that particularly I'm not. And so therefore, they've now got expectations that they don't understand, like just how difficult it can be just kind of navigating school and stuff like that. And so the reason I say you don't want that is because I feel like growing up, my punishments were very heavy-handed. And so if I made mistakes, it wasn't like, let's talk about it, it's you're getting beats. And it's for any little thing as well. And sometimes like the beats don't come from you actually genuinely making a mistake. Sometimes it's just their pent up frustration with whatever they're going through in their situation.
I come from that, you know, immigrant background. You know, my step-grandfather was a Jamaican, right? He believed in beats, right? And it's interesting, there's a disconnect in the experience of African and Caribbean families and the state, you know, how many times you hear people say, they won't let me discipline my child, right? Because the level of the beating is different. But I think that's just I think that's about our story as people who have, you know, who have come here from different cultures. Because they come here with their culture, right? No one tells them to change. They don't go to places where they learn that culture. And we, as the offspring, go into an environment where the world is changed out there. You go to school, when you walk on the street, it's different. You know, and I'll give you an example. I speak differently now than I do at home, right? If I went to speak to my mum or my grandparents, my accent would completely change, right? Because I'm speaking in a more Caribbean way. You know, the joke is, you know, you watch like, you know, Bob Marley documentaries on TV and they put the subtitles. That's insulting because I can understand him. And same thing when we, you know. So I think I do get there's that disconnect, and we're that sort of I don't know what the word is, that junction of the old world and the new world, and we are that generation where we really interface on that. And there is hard lessons to learn. I look at my background and think, that doesn't work in this country. That way of growing, you know. But we develop as people, we move on, and as we get older, we look back at ourselves and think, that was right, that should have been toned down, and we all grow as people, so even though negative experiences do shape us.
So going back to what your question was about what affected the school experience or education, for me, it was my sickle cell. That's what affected everything essentially. So obviously, as I said earlier on, school was like two halves. The first half was like me trying to acclimatise and trying to adjust to school with the sickle cell. I came into school year 7, I was on 2 crutches. At this point, so backstory, I had a vascular necrosis, which obviously a vascular is the bones, and necrosis means tissue death. So essentially it was bone tissue death in the left hip. So what happens is during a crisis, the blood cells clog up in the joints, and then they stop air and blood from traveling to parts of the body. So this happened in my left hip, and the bone broke. I think it chipped like 1.5 to 2 inches off the hip. So I walked with a really bad limp. This happened in year 5. Well, it happened in year 4, and then I missed all of year 5. And then came back right at the end of year 5, the last term, and then year 6. So obviously I'm going into secondary school now, and I'm on 2 crutches. And it's almost like I was kind of isolated from the rest of the kids. Like, I could take the teacher's shortcuts. I wasn't really playing outside if I didn't want to. I was getting picked up from school from my mum, taken to school by my mum in the morning. I was very isolated. It's like school was just school for me at the time. Like, I went there, read my book, did my tests, went back home. Then year 8 come, I was on 1 crutch. And then year 9 came, I came off the crutches. And then that's kind of when I started, everything kind of changed at that point. For example, even things like finding out that girls actually fancied me, that sort of thing, because my mind was never there. So it's like I kind of came into my own character. I started becoming my own person, and I was talking to more people than I was before.
Was that after year 9?
Yeah, that's towards the end of year 9, going into year 10 and 11.
That's mad.
Yeah, so that's when it all kind of changed for me. That's why I say I enjoyed school more, because I feel like I was experiencing the social side of school more in those years. Well, it's not a feeling, I was experiencing it more. But all throughout the school, sickle cell was just, it impeded on everything. Like, my attendance was low, punctuality was low. I always had to leave because I had to go to hospital. I always had to leave school early because I went to hospital, or come school late because I had hospital, or have bare time off school because I was ill. I was having a crisis, so I was in hospital. I had to do this scan, that scan. So it was just very just checkered. School was just very checkered. So that obviously impacted everything. You know, with the attendance, punctuality, absences, that affected me being in school, passing exams. A lot of exams I didn't pass until the GCSEs, when it actually mattered. So it's not like I was, you know, dumb, or, you know, I wasn't academically competent. I just, I couldn't apply myself because there was external things, or internal, that was affecting my ability to, you know, produce, essentially. But as I say, towards the end of school, from year 9, end of year 9 to year 10, year 11, I enjoyed more. I kind of came into my own character. And maybe that was kind of provoked by stuff that was going on at home. Obviously, my parents were kind of going through a whole messy split. So I kind of started rebelling and acting up in school, so I got in more trouble as well. But equally, I kind of became more socially competent and confident as well. So, yeah.
If you guys, I've got another question for you guys. Do you feel like your school setup and the teachers and the adults around you were able to tap into your specific needs whilst you're going through school and what you perhaps required to be your best selves during school?
So I would say that I feel like the school setup, and when I was in school, I feel like they tried to help cater towards my needs. I didn't have any like sort of special needs education, stuff like that, but I did have a few teachers who could see like, yeah, Kelvin, you could do with a bit extra help, and have like a learning support teacher kind of assist you in certain subjects. But I think I personally could have got more help if I had a little bit more confidence to kind of speak up and say, do you know what, I'm struggling in this area. Can I get more support in here? Whatever that looked like, could I get more support here? And because I didn't do that, I feel like I struggled a lot within certain subjects that I did not particularly enjoy, just because of like the external pressure. And so I think the opportunities were there for me, but whether I took them, that's another sort of thing.
Is the question about significant role models at school, right?
Specifically, teachers, role models, class another one.
Yeah, I would say yes. I bumped into an old teacher of mine a couple of weeks ago. I still called him sir, right? In front of my other people, and they were looking at me, and I went, sir, all right, this, because that, and that same teacher, years ago, I asked him, this guy has been at school for nearly 30 years, and I think, and the guy is a legend amongst boys. The majority of my school are black boys, right? Or Irish, or Polish, if you're Catholic. And he said, my role was to develop gentlemen, right? And that took me back. He said, my role was to develop gentlemen. And it made me think back, but in my schools, a Catholic school is a boys' school, you're taught to speak up, right? Obviously, you have the church thing, you have to do certain things in the church, and you have to speak up anyway. You have to read philosophy and poetry, it's called a hymn, or gospel, or whatever. So, so you're getting that sort of literacy thing. But in my environment as a Catholic, there were lots of people around me, down to the Catholic priest, Father Hall. He had one of the biggest funerals 10 years ago. Everyone turned up. And I can name the teachers who had a significant influence on me. So I was lucky, I said earlier on, I was lucky I went to a really good school who, if you're black, we didn't suffer lack of self-confidence in my school. That's one thing I can't understand, because in my school, everyone was taught to be upright, stand up, articulate. Even if you had a fight, they'll go, why did you fight that person, right? Let's discuss it, right? I'm gonna go walk away, you guys finish it off, right? So in our school, they taught you to be leaders. In my school,
they gave you autonomy.
Yeah, they gave us autonomy. So I would say to the question, I was lucky I went to a school where I had people who empowered me, gave me the ability to be who I am, also let us, really great word, and you taught me something there, we had autonomy for ourselves. There's no racism in our school, right? Because we'll sort it out, and the teachers knew we'd sort it out, so we policed ourselves, right? And so I was blessed, I had that environment, and I only wish, but especially for, I speak as a man of colour, and I look at my younger, I wish, but all schools are like my school, so I was lucky. I had positive role models at school, which I perhaps didn't have in my environment around my home. I had them outside. And I am, my headmaster for 1 year, 2 years was Sir Michael Wilshaw, who went to run Ofsted. I saw him a couple of years ago. I called him sir as well. And he said to me, how's your mum? She's fine, sir. How's your brothers? Right? That's what school I went to, right? Where they name because certain big families, and that's what school I went to. So I had that environment where, we respected our teachers, respected our female teachers. It's a really great, that environment I had. I think school's very important, and I think, but especially for ethnic minority boys or people who don't have, I call it, standard family backgrounds. If you got a bit of trouble in your life, you need a bit of support. Schools are very important. And I think it's a very great question about those significant role models in our life. And because I'm slightly older, I can look back and go, you know what, there were some really great people that made me who I am. But I love your word about autonomy. And I think at school I had that. We policed ourselves, right?
See, hearing you say that is a bit mad, because, I feel like you might be able to relate on this, Kelvin. If we let the students police themselves in our school, all hell would break loose.
Yeah, you don't want us policing ourselves. Yeah.
Because you never been taught how to police yourselves. Like, is it the chicken and egg? What comes first? You need to be given responsibility to understand responsibility, or because you're saying, because we went to the same school.
Yeah. But
I feel like if I had responsibility more in school and teachers didn't look at you as a troublemaker all the time, I would have probably dropped to that level. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think you are right with the whole chicken and egg situation, because there were some responsible people in our schools, and the teachers knew who was responsible, but there was just far too many guys who just wanted to throw their weight around. I think pride was a big thing because of the gang life, post-Cold Wars, that sort of stuff. A lot of guys just wanted to, just show that they was a big boss and they can't really be played with. Like, you can't contest me, you can't, I'm that guy. So if we gave those guys powers, because these are the guys that will make a phone call and there's 40 men on bikes outside waiting for everyone to leave school at the end of the day.
I didn't have that. You see, at my school, we wanted to get out, right? We wanted to get out. And in our school, I remember particular, if you was in our class and you were playing around, we will tell you, we're trying to learn. Here's a football, off you go. We were self-motivated, right? Because growing up in them days, we think it's bad now. I tell you, it was a lot worse when I grew up, but I didn't really know that. I look back at it now, it's bloody awful, right? But I was self-motivated, right? I wanted to get out, and the rest, we literally, when they give you do your tests, right? The teacher would hold back at the back, he knew the boys who were at the top, right? He hold our books to the last, because we were going, what did you get? And he hand them out, what did you get? And if you beat me, Kelvin, next week, I'm finding out what the test is, I'm gonna beat you. That was our environment. So for me, I think autonomy in our lives is a very key skill, and actually something I learned at school, actually. And I think significant role models, I had that at school. Autonomy, it didn't always work. Not every adult was a positive role model, let me get that right, But for me, I come from that environment. I was taught from a very early age. It might be that Catholic school thing, right? Because you believe in God or fairies, no matter what your religion is, and you got to go to school and pray, and you have to interact with people and that sort of thing. It's a bigger thing. For us, it's that our community, our school was part of our community. I couldn't let down at school because my community be let down. Church, everybody will know what class you're in. At church, right? In the street, everybody will know what class you're in, And I think it's very important.
Yeah, it's great that you guys had that.
But you couldn't survive that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I think in some classes, I was unfortunate to be in some are I'll say the lower sets, and so you would have if you were asking us to sort of police ourselves and be responsible for ourselves. Yeah, we would probably not finish. Well, some of us would probably not finish school because
you've got the characters in the class.
Yeah, and so the unfortunate part is sometimes you can see teachers kind of give up on some students, and it's like, right, you're giving up on him. What are you gonna do with me? And I'm in this class, yo, I gotta get out. So I'm here trying to work my way up to go to different sets and whatnot. But it was difficult. Yeah, it was difficult still because for a lot of them who sort of mess around in class and stuff like that, you could see that, oh, yeah, after school...
Got issues.
Yeah, but I think now that I'm older and I'm looking at what they went through, I can see like there's things that happen in the house that happen to them, and it's like, who do you speak to kind of like
they need support.
Help you with
support,
that? Because I needed like help from an academic point of view, but I don't think there was anything to like help you with what you're going through at home, kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it. You know, there were some teachers that could see past, you know, the bravado, just the facade of what you're putting up in front of them, and they did their best to help. But I feel like there was. It felt like there was too many of us going through shit at home for them to kind of address without having like a standardized method of intervention.
Not enough resources.
Right. That's what it was essentially that. So it was like, it's almost like teachers took the approach of like, you know, I'm gonna try and help you, and if you are responsive to it, then let's go. But I can't save everyone. It was like, if I can save one or two, then that's good. But ultimately, if everyone's doing that, then fine. But as you said, those teachers that just gave up, those teachers that was going there just to get their paycheck.
Exactly. What about you, Luca? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's interesting hearing, you know, how it was for you. It seemed like schools are very positive, and it's like the students are very disciplined, the teachers were respected. So when I think about my school, it's the complete opposite. Unless you're talking about the top sets, other than that, it's just teachers didn't have the same respect. I don't know if maybe that's because of just maybe kids in this generation just move differently now. I feel like the traditional respect to older people isn't given as much as it may have used to have been. Maybe, I don't know that. I'm saying that could be a reason. A student got stabbed on like my first week, like a year 11, ran in the school and stabbed us, 2 students, I think. And I remember I was doing after school club, and then they said, right, you can't leave the building, something's happened. And then, someone literally,
all the actual knife, like?
Hospital. Yeah, like someone just ran in, I think, an ex-school member ran in and just stabbed 2 pupils. And on my second day, I remember like a student, there was fights and it was crazy. And then, but I know like even before I was there, I reckon in the 90s, the 2000s, that place was a war zone apparently.
Yeah, they need to close that down. I'm not joking.
I'm surprised it's not closed down. I had some guys that lived around my bits who went and they're some of the maddest guys I know to this day. They're some of the maddest people I know. Like that's.
Yeah. On that note, what was the worst thing you guys did in school?
Ooh.
That you can say on camera.
Yeah, that's an incriminator.
Obviously.
So the worst thing I did in school, it wasn't anything crazy, but it was during my rebellious period. I think this was year 11, and can I say this?
Be careful, right? Is it incriminating? Is it limitation of statutes or whatever? Think about it before you say, brother. Is there a reward? Is there a reward for this? Yeah?
No,
call him now.
I'm good. I'm sure the reward's expired now. But, it wasn't anything crazy in it. There was this guy that I frequently had run-ins with. And not just me, there was a few of us, because he lived near me. Like, he was from a different estate. It wasn't like postcode wars or anything, but he was just a prick, innit? We didn't like him. Like, he was just a dick. And he was like, racist as well. Like, he was a racist guy. So literally, we was in the same geography class, and he's, the whole day he had been trying to provoke me. So, end of the lesson, he's leaving now. No, I'm leaving, and then he calls me something racist. I won't repeat what he said. But
was he white?
Yeah, like proper like white ginger. And
proper
pure So he called me something racist, and I turned around and I was going to chase him. And then I looked at the teacher, who was also white, and he was short, and I was like, you didn't hear that? And he was pretending like he didn't hear it. So I started getting amped up now. And the teacher was trying to like block me or whatever, because I was going for it. And then I was asking the teacher, are you not going to do anything? Like, he literally just called me, you know, whatever he called me. And then the teacher's like, oh, it's okay, he didn't mean it, whatever. So I kind of just got angry, and I essentially like pushed the teacher, like, and he was like, spun over the table. Like, he spun over the table, and then I went to go and catch him. But there was other people in the room, so they was kind of holding me back, saying, chill, we'll get him after, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was it. But then the teacher put me on what was called category.
Yeah.
So category was basically, you don't go to your lessons, you have to go to other people's lessons.
Yeah.
The teacher has to sign it to prove that you actually showed up in the class.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what happened. Nothing too crazy, but you're trying to pushing teachers.
I had a similar thing to you. There were two brothers, Tim and Eli Kerr, at school, and they lived near me. We had some troubles, and we brought it into school. And there was a corridor, and the lights, one of those corridors, quite tight, big lesson change. And I saw the guy, and the guy went to me, lights went off. And I knew his brother was close, right? So the lights gone off, my guys in my class knew what was going on, and I felt a hand on me, right? Last time when the lights went off, I saw the guy's brother behind me, so I thought it was the guy's brother. So I turned around, the best punch ever, right? And then when the lights went on, everybody moved back, right? I looked, there was a teacher on the floor, knocked out completely, right? So everybody went, oh no. So I went, and there's a postscript to this. And then my teacher, what did you do? My teacher was a very good teacher. What did you do? I said, look, this is what happened. I was having a fight. I fought with the guy's brother. The lights went off. Hand on me, right? So I had to go home. Then what happened was, the teacher lived around the corner to me. So I went home, and my grandfather worked at Ford's, and he wore a hat on a stereotype Jamaican, big hat, suit, and he'd come home, and he thought, oh, you're home early. Oh yeah, come sit down. He's still in his cup of tea. I got in trouble, and I told him, and he went, what teacher was it? I said the one round the corner. He went, go and put your coat on. He went, and he knocked on the teacher's door, and she came out. Her eye was like this.
Oh, it was a woman?
Yeah. And
no, that makes it.
And he said, okay, I'm personally very, very sorry about this. Leave it with me. This is not acceptable in our family. And he read me the riot act in front of the teacher, right? So the next day, after going to school, took a day off work, no money, them of the day dry, put on his best suit on, went to the head teacher, and his teacher said, look, we've got to discipline him because he knocked the teacher out completely, her eyes out, this is a big scandal. And then my grandfather said to the head, say, listen, this is unacceptable in my family, what he did, hitting a woman, hitting a teacher, we don't like that, right? However, I took my grandson to defend himself. He thought he's under attack by two people, he took appropriate steps, and for that, that's what I taught my grandson to do. But it's unacceptable what he done. But leave it with me, and I'll go home and beat him, right? So the teacher said, no, he can stay in school today. And I had to sit for that day, sit in his room, had a chat with the teacher. And the teacher said to me, look, I understand, but your family are disciplinarian, especially your grandfather, right? But I learned a lesson then, right? I learned a very important lesson. This guy took a day off work. He lost money, my grandfather, to come and vouch for me. This is the guy who signed me into school. At the school, the big book going back years, and every pupil he signed in. I saw that book a couple of years ago. He literally signed me into school, right? But the teacher also came back to me and said she acknowledged what happened. But I learnt a very important lesson. I may be able to defend myself, and I did, but there are consequences, and I had to accept them. And my grandfather taught me how to accept them as a man. And that teacher, Miss Middleton, her name is, she's ever out there, I know how, she taught me a lesson that day, very important lesson. And my grandfather taught me an even better one, right? But you need to fess up to what you're doing. Don't apologise for defending yourself. As a black man in East London, I was taught to defend myself. But I taught me a very important lesson. I was ashamed to even talk about it now. that teacher, if I saw her now, she wouldn't have to buy a alley to apologise. That's what I learned. Very important lesson. Defend yourself, but there are consequences.
Did you get the beats though in the end?
Yeah, I got the beat.
Did you fight back?
Yeah, I did. I grabbed the belt at 14 once like that. Grabbed the belt. I said, no more, this stops.
Did your mum say you hit her back?
No, my grandfather hit the belt. And the belt, what happened? The belt broke on me. Right? It literally broke. And I grabbed the belt. I said, this stops.
Yeah, you see, I hear that and I'm thinking, that's so much privilege. Because I had to take the lashing.
No, I told my grandfather, this stops. Right?
That's
I told him,
crazy.
stops.
Because
right? Because I don't know, I learned from a very early age, but you know what, this is not right. You know, that we call him Jamaican, Victorian dad, we call him, being my brother, my grandfather. It's very old fashioned.
Yeah.
And that's not, remember you said earlier on about the generation, that interface, that gap, that wasn't appropriate that's not how you navigate yourself, that violent, that big talk, that that's not how I do it. I learned to actually turn it, because of that experience growing up as a kid, to turn it down. I use my voice. I learn how to influence people and listen, and I don't use my size, because that's the last thing I need to use. That's the last thing in my armoury to defend myself, is my size, right? Because again, my grandfather taught me, if anyone wants to fight you, you're 6 foot tall, you play rugby. If people are going to fight you, either they're a complete mad person or they're like a, black belt 10th dan. Yeah. Don't fight those people. Don't put yourself in those positions. What do you use? You use your brain, your articulation. Yeah. But when I look back what happened to me with that teacher, that took me a big lesson. Yeah. Big lesson.
Yeah, I do.
That's a great segue, about the lesson. But before we get into it, I feel like I'm seeing a real difference. Like, I feel like you had a great community when you were in school, within your school system, which allowed you to be yourself. Yeah. Right, which then allowed you to, I'm assuming, dream big to be right now. Do you guys feel like you had that before you started closing that ability to, do you know what I mean, see you where you are?
No, it was almost like, not to be dramatic, but maybe it's as dramatic as it is, but it was like dog eat dog, bruv. Like, there was no infrastructure for like everyone to help everyone. You kind of, you had your badge, and you kind of, dealt with them. Like, everyone else, it was just, there was just so much have to navigate around. It was just a bit like, you just didn't want to expose yourself. And whereas, obviously with the whole Secret Service situation, it was just very different, like, for me. There wasn't, for example, your question earlier on when you were talking about, did you have help or support or role models in school? I had people who could relate, because they had family members or siblings or friends or whatever who had sickle cell, so they always kept an eye out on me. But for the most part, I think I was easier to accommodate because I had something wrong with me. Do you get it? So it's like literally my mum would come in and say, he can't do this, he can't do that, he has this, he needs this, he needs that, and the school just did it. For example, I had a history teacher who was like, just, I don't even, like, almost mistrunchable, like, just, she's not swinging people around by their pigtails, but pretty much that. She was like scary, and she just struck the fear of God into you. And I liked history, but I didn't like the lesson. It was just a lot, and obviously stress is something that can add on, that can trigger sickle cell. So I told my mum, I like history, but I just don't know if I can do it under these conditions. It's a lot. Mind you, you're doing history for the whole year to then pass the exam. So my mum's like, listen, I'm not even gonna play around with all of that sort of stuff. She went to school, spoke to the headmaster. She said, listen, the learning conditions aren't right for my son, for Reuben. And I didn't go history. This happened in like October, November. Didn't go history from then for the rest of the year. Still sat the exam. I still passed, I don't know how. But that was my support, like my mum. That was everything. She was a community for me. Everyone else was kind of an accessory because I obviously had to come into contact with them in some capacity, whether it's doctors, school friends, whatever. But my mum was my community, so I just had to make sure I always put myself in a situation where she could continue to, keep a watchful eye over me. But yeah, as far as external people and actual community, I don't think we had that.
Yeah, same. Nah, not really. It's too much going on for that. Like now, there's probably about 500 kids in 1 year, 600 kids even. Like,
500 in 1 year?
They're taking a lot, like it's so oversubscribed. You get certain corridors.
Yeah, maybe that's why. Because even in my year, it was like 200.
Yeah, that's probably one reason why.
It's 146, I think, in the first year. When I was there, it was 92. But that's. Did you have that support network at school?
Like I said, it was there, but again, I didn't want to access it. To be fair. A lot of the time.
Why didn't you access it, Kelvin? You said it now. Why? Why didn't you actually?
I think for me, I was struggling with the fact that, if I make my parents aware that I'm kind of struggling in certain subjects, then it's like now that's no longer a conversation about why you're struggling. It's about a conversation about how much you're disappointing me. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Or like now it becomes a comparison of, well, your cousin gets this grades, why didn't you do that? Why doesn't it look like that? So for me, I'm avoiding those conversations. So I'm not even like bringing that up or even trying to get the support, because now if I ask for the support, then it's like, oh, are we admitting that there's an issue here, like with you? Do you know what I mean? So that's why I don't address it. Do you know what I mean? That's why I put it.
That's support is the thing, isn't it? Because I've realised just listening to you three, the different experiences, and I was, I won't say anything special. I just naturally, I think, Reuben, you were like a late developer at school.
Yeah.
Same here, right? But I had that environment, which I didn't know I had it, but I sort of knew I had it. Being a Catholic, it's a wider community. But it seems like if you had a bit more of a sort of softer support network around you outside your family, then that would have helped you in school. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make it seem like I had like uninhabitable conditions.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But literally, like, when I say my mum was like head honcho, she just told everyone what to do, so everyone kind of had to, otherwise it was a problem with my
alpha mum.
Right, exactly.
That's what. Yeah.
So
not wrong in that, mate.
Yeah, no, I'm here now because of her. So, in that sense, I had the support, but not because, for the most part, they did it off their own free will, but because it was instructed. So, the intent behind it is neither here nor there, because it's what I needed at the time, and my mum instructed it the way she did. But looking at everyone else in school, I don't think the infrastructure was primed to kind of help the students and to also get them to flourish as well. Because you can try and help, but if it's not helpful in the way it needs to work, it doesn't really matter. A
lot of schools now have what they call family support workers.
Right.
But provide that additional support to there are some families that are really, really struggling. But also, if you're not really, really struggling, what other support? There's always a teacher you might want to go knock on their door, sit down, have a cup of orange juice, have a chat, kick back, talk about the football. Actually, that's what some people need. But if your school hasn't got that structure in place, you very rarely have it.
So now, before we close, what would you guys say your biggest lessons from school were? Terry, you said your incident with Miss Middleton, is it?
Yeah. Kate Middleton. No, not Kate Middleton. Ruth Middleton. My biggest lesson. It's the biggest lesson I learned from school.
That you're still using today, though? That you're still applying in your life today?
Just to back myself a bit more. And I learned, and that's something I was having a conversation earlier. I think it's for you, Reuben, right?
Yeah.
At school, The lesson I learned from school is, I think, it's going to be okay, and to back myself.
Yeah.
And I think those two things, on reflection, listening to you three, I think still apply with me today. It's going to be okay. Life can be a bit shitty sometimes.
Yeah.
But the lessons I learned at school, yeah, I can do it. I learned I can do it. That's what I learned from school.
Yeah. I think that kind of resonates with me. I mean, as I said, the beginning part of school wasn't so great. You know, it's like the way my mum kind of cared for me. It was almost as if I was like fragile. So I learned that I was fragile, and it's like I felt fragile in her care. I kind of saw myself as fragile. So I became fragile, and I carried myself as if I was fragile. So I was kind of, you know, isolated from everyone else, because mostly I isolated myself. It's not until I decided from year 9, you know, back yourself, essentially, come out. And then I started realizing, oh, people do like me, you know, girls, or, you know, the man that think I'm funny, or we get on, we have a good time, da 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 da. So
by year 11, I wouldn't even be out playing. I'd just be in the music room on the laptop, and I didn't feel that external pressure to want to keep playing. And that's when I felt like right, yeah, this is what I want to do. I might call typical, you know. Initially, I would have perceived that as loner activities. Maybe in year 9, like, I should be outside with everyone else. That's what everyone else is doing. But really, that's what began the love for the thing that I do most often now. So, yeah, I think just not care about what anyone's got to say and not try to fit in. Just do what benefits you.
Well, what do you do and love right now?
Music production, and that will stem from secondary school, which is why, in the grand scheme of things, I always look back at secondary school as a positive experience, because mainly for that reason. So yeah.
I'll probably say for myself, I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned from, I think, my time at school is it's okay to make mistakes. At the time when I was in secondary school, it felt like if I didn't achieve this, if I didn't do this, if I didn't live up to the expectations of, you know, my parents, it just felt like the end of the world. And so that prohibited me from accessing things that would have helped me at that time. And so I think now I sort of tried to take the approach where it's not the mistakes that you make, but it's more about what you do after it. And so I try to challenge myself in that way, where if I make the mistake, go and try again. Do you know what I mean? And so that's where I look back at it and think, could I have just not been afraid to like just make the mistakes? Because then what's going to happen? You made the mistake. Do you know what I mean? It's not the end of the world. So I think that's what I'll do, kind of looking back. And I think now, yeah, just take the risk, I guess. Yeah.
So essentially, back yourself.
Yeah, back yourself, because now I'm at that stage where, like, I'm not in that environment no more of pressure. I've kind of removed myself from that external pressure and just reminded myself that as I am, I'm more than enough to, like, you know, be capable. And so, yeah, take the risk, because nothing's gonna happen to me now. Like, I don't have to like look over my shoulder and think, like punishments, like headed my way kind of thing. But it's more about just like, you can do it, it's fine. Like, if you need to pivot, you can pivot, yeah.
So thank you guys for watching this today. I think there was some really enlightening discussions from all of us, in particular the special guest Terry today. He said some really important stuff that we we get to hear from the perspective of another generation that we weren't in going to school at that time. I think it's always important to every day. Now none of us are at school. I'm at university, but in secondary school, none of us are there anymore, and I think it's important to, despite that, still educate yourself in any possible way.